All right, so chapter 7 is decimal stuff. Here's a quick recap. Decimal just means based on 10. We use it to refer to things called decimal fractions, but really decimal is broader than that. Our number system is a decimal number system. This is just based on 10. Historically, we've been using this base 10 number system for a couple thousand years. Fractions we've been using longer. This idea of a decimal point and then stuff on the other side is a couple hundred years old. The biggest idea I just want to get across in this unit is identifying place values properly. So this number, slang version, is 1.33. The proper way to read it is identify the smallest place value. It's the hundredths. And so we would read it as 1 and 33 hundredths. Big idea number 1. The idea of decimal could be a number bigger than 1, or it could be a number less than 1. So let's just look at some place values. So we've gone over before last term our ones position, our tens position, our hundreds position. And then his last couple hundred years, we've put a decimal point right there. And then to the right of that, we have our tenths position, tenths, and then we have our hundredths position. And we can write these using digits, numerals. And last term, we also went over using exponents to do this. So for example, 100 is 10 to the second, 10 is 10 to the first, 1 is 10 to the...
No.
10 to the 0. 10 to the 0, yeah.
Does the 0 make it 1?
Yeah, so a base to the power 0 ends up being 1, so that's our ones place. And then if you think about the pattern here, 2, 1, 0, what number on the number line might come next? Negative 1. So it turns out 1/10 is 10 to the negative 1, and 1/100th is 10 to the negative 2. There's some symmetry here. What's at the center of this symmetry? It's the ones place, not the decimal point. The ones place is kind of the center here. And then we have kind of a mirror image on each side. Big numbers like 10, 100, and 1,000, and small numbers like tenths, hundreds, and thousandths. So again, I have a couple of ways to consider a number like 1.33. Oops, I did slang. Proper way to read it, again, identify the smallest place value. And then from there, I have at least 2 ways to go. Earlier, I said I could read it as 1 and 33 hundredths. But I could also say it's 133 hundredths. I can just identify the place value and then ditch the decimal point. And that's also okay. Do you remember expanded form from last term, where we identified each place and what power of 10 it was? So I could also do the same thing here. I like these 2 versions of the number as an alternative, but I could also say this is 1 times 10 to the 0, and 3 times 10 to the negative 1, and 3 times 10 to the negative 2. And this last version is what we call expanded form of a number.
So the 1 is our whole number, which was in the 1 spot, and then we use the 2 3s from after the decimal point to identify the tens.
Yeah, so one of the first 3 is in the tens place, and I'm using the exponential notation. I don't have to. I could have also written this number, sneak it over here. I could say I have 1, 1, and I have 3 tenths, and I have 3 hundredths.
Okay.
Right, so there's a variety of ways to write it down. So in the book and in some of the homework, you'll see expanded form with exponents, you'll see expanded form with decimal fractions. And again, all a decimal fraction is the denominator can only be based on 10. So I can't have thirds or fourths, it's got to be tenths, hundreds, thousands is all that's allowable. And again, when this was first proposed not too long ago, people were like, but I like thirds and fourths and fifths and eighths and stuff. Like, I don't want to be just stuck with using 10 and 12. But we adapted quite well. And people prefer decimals to fractions in general, say. So we'll get more into switching back and forth in between them. Next, I just want to play with visuals examples of them. So I passed out some base 10 blocks. So I'm going to grab my digital version here. Oh, I didn't link to it. Okay, let's go find it online. Got the Math Learning Center. Is that it there? B. No, that's not it. Here. B. Free math apps. Yep, it's the one I want. Fractions, number chart, number pieces. There we go. The web app. All right, choose this version. So I have color-coded ones. Let's say we got to decide what one whole is going to be. So if I wanted to say visualize that 1 in 3300ths, I could say that this red unit here is one whole. Label that as such. And if that's one whole, then I could put together one whole and then 1, 2, 3 of these guys. And then 1, 2, 3 of those guys. So this would be a representation of 1 3300ths. And you'll see kids' activities in elementary school playing with decimals that use toys like this. And they'll have pictures of the toys on paper. And one thing that's important is for any session we do with kids in these, once we decide, say the flat is a whole, we leave it that way for the day. And then we could another day say, okay, well, let's instead let the whole or let the flat be 1/10. Then we can make other decimals. Yeah, so I'm going to make a new version of this just for fun. So let's say in class yesterday, we played around with that flat as one whole, and then we come to class the next day. And then today we're going to say, all right, this time I'm going to let that sucker right there be 1/10. So if that's going to be 1/10, then use your toys to make some decimal. Any decimal you want. And then I'm going to come around and ask you what decimal you have shown there. So make something different. I'm going to make one.
So like for this, we're not comparing anything to like a whole.
Well, actually we are. So if that's a 10th, then 10 of those stacked up would be a whole, which would be one of these cubes that I have. So that in this case, that would be a whole.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so if again, the flat is 1/10, then what decimal am I representing here on my screen? Yeah, so the red is 1/10. What are the little things then? They would be thousands, so it would be 104 thousands because I'm skipping the hundreds place. The hundreds would be the skinny ones. I don't have any of those. So what I have here, again, if the red is 1/10, I have 1/10. And, oop, wrong button. And I have 4 of those other pieces, which aren't hundreds. They're the next smallest, which have to be thousands. Or in decimal notation, that number right there. So this top version of it is kind of an expanded version of it. And then underneath is the way we'd usually write it down. Okay, so my particular illustration is 104 thousandths. So we're going to start playing around with the next activity. The activity has 3 parts. Part 1 is just to make some illustrations with these toys with different decimal values. And then we're going to start playing around with how decimals and fractions are related together. This first section we're working on is about terminating decimals. There are some decimals that do not terminate. So we're going to start looking at when they do and when they don't terminate.